Episode 3, The Aftermath, 300 Steps to Freedom. This podcast contains themes of domestic abuse, coercive control, xenophobia, and misuse of mental health systems. Listener discretion advised. Names and details have been changed for privacy. You're listening to 300 Steps to Freedom, a story of rebuilding a life across cultures, where truth can feel like invention. Here, fact and fiction travel side by side. Where does one end and the other begin? You decide. The fluorescent lights have been switched off. The conference room that felt like a courtroom just hours ago now sits empty, its coffee machine silent. But the echoes of what happened here will reverberate through my life for years to come. Episode 3 begins exactly where Episode 2 ended, with my freedom. Yes, but also with the dawning realization that this was just the opening move in a much longer game. The drive home from Gianluca's office felt surreal. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles had turned white, but I barely noticed. Alessia sat quietly in the passenger seat, her usual chatter replaced by a silence that spoke volumes. In the rearview mirror, I could see little Elijah in his car seat, his eyes wide and confused, still processing what he had witnessed.
Mama,
Alessia finally whispered, breaking the heavy silence.
what just happened back there?
How do you tell your 11-year-old daughter that her father just tried to have her mother committed to a psychiatric hospital? How do you explain that the uncle she trusted had been part of the plan?
Sometimes, sweetheart,
I said carefully, my voice steadier than I felt.
when people are scared or angry, they make very bad decisions. Papa was confused about some things.
But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't confusion. This had been calculated, planned, orchestrated with the precision of a legal mind that knew exactly how to use the system as a weapon. Home felt different now. The apartment that had been our sanctuary suddenly felt exposed, vulnerable. Every sound made me jump. Was that Stefano's key in the door? Were there more men in white coats coming up the stairs? I moved through our evening routine like an automaton. Dinner preparation, homework supervision, bath time, all the normal rhythms of family life continuing, as if the world hadn't just shifted on its axis.
Mama, you're burning the garlic.
Alessia pointed out gently, and I realized I'd been staring at the pan without really seeing it, lost in replaying the day's events.
Can we order pizza instead?
I asked, turning off the burner. Some battles weren't worth fighting, and tonight, keeping my children fed and feeling safe mattered more than a home-cooked meal. During dinner, I watched my children's faces carefully. Elijah seemed largely unaffected. At 2, he was too young to fully understand what had happened, though he stayed closer to me than usual. But Alessia was different. She picked at her pizza, her usual appetite gone.
Mama,
She said suddenly.
are you sick?
The question hit me like a physical blow.
What do you mean, sweetheart?
Papa said, before today, he said you were sick and that's why you were sad all the time. Is that why those people came?
How long had Stefano been planting these seeds of doubt about my mental state? How long had he been preparing her for this moment?
No, baby.
I said firmly, reaching across the table to take her hand.
I'm not sick. What happened today? That was about Papa being confused, not about me being sick.
Bath time was a challenge. Elijah, usually eager for his evening splash, clung to me and cried when I tried to put him in the tub. The white coats of the psychiatric nurses must have reminded him of doctors, and now he was afraid of being taken away from me. I ended up getting in the bath with him, clothes and all, just to reassure him that I wasn't leaving. As I held his warm, wet little body against mine, I felt the full weight of what Stefano had done. He hadn't just attacked me, he had traumatized our children. We all snuggled into Alessia's double bed that night, unable to bear the thought of them sleeping alone. They needed the comfort of my presence, and honestly, I needed theirs too.
Tell us the story about the brave princess.
Alessia requested as we settled under the covers. It was our favorite bedtime story, one I'd been telling them since Alessia was tiny. leave her homeland and travel to a foreign kingdom where she faced many challenges but always found the strength to protect what mattered most. Tonight, the story felt less like fiction and more like prophecy. The metallic scrape of the key against the lock cut through the suffocating silence like a blade. My eyes snapped open in the darkness, heart hammering against my ribs. The sound echoed through the house, once, twice, as if whoever held that key was hesitating, or perhaps savoring the moment before entry. Click! The old grandfather clock in the hallway began its ominous countdown to midnight. Each chime reverberated through the walls, through my bones. Dong, dong, dong. 12 strikes that felt like a death knell. Stefano was coming home. My bare feet hit the cold hardwood floor before my mind fully caught up. The floorboards beneath me groaned in protest, a sound that seemed to announce my presence to whatever darkness was climbing those stairs. I positioned myself like a sentinel between my children's rooms and the hallway, my nightgown billowing around me as adrenaline surged through my veins. The front door creaked open below, a sound like fingernails on a chalkboard that made every muscle in my body coil tight. Heavy footsteps began their ascent, each one deliberate, measured, predatory. For one terrifying moment, a dark thought flashed through my mind, rushing toward him, meeting him halfway down those stairs, my hands against his chest, watching him tumble backward into the darkness below. The violence of the thought shocked me, made my breath catch in my throat. I had never been a violent person, but today had awakened something fierce and protective in me, something that would do anything to protect what was mine. He switched on the hallway lights with deliberate care, just the dim amber sconces, not the harsh overhead fixture, moving with an uncharacteristic tenderness that hadn't graced our home in months. The soft glow cast long shadows across the worn carpet, and I found myself blinking in confusion at this unexpected consideration. Lately, he'd been slamming doors, stomping upstairs, letting his presence announce itself like a storm warning. But tonight, something was different. When his eyes found me standing there in the doorway, a pale spectre in my white nightgown framed by the darkness of our bedroom, he froze. His face went through a series of emotions I couldn't quite read. Surprise, guilt, something that might have been relief. His shoulders, which had been carrying the weight of whatever burden he'd been shouldering, seemed to sag.
I didn't expect.
He started, then stopped, his hand still resting on the light switch. When he spoke again, his voice carried a raw, wounded quality I hadn't heard in months, not since before everything between us had hardened into this cold, careful dance of avoidance. It was the voice of the man I'd once known, the one who used to whisper apologies into my hair when he came home late from work, who used to check on the children before coming to bed.
Elena, you're awake,
he said, and those two simple words held more vulnerability than he'd shown me in half a year.
What do you want?
My voice came out steadier than I felt.
I wanted to check on the children, to make sure they're okay.
The audacity of it took my breath away.
You mean the children you traumatized today? The children who watched their mother being restrained by psychiatric nurses because of lies you told?
I was scared, Elena. Scared of losing you. Scared of losing the children. Gianluca said it was the only way to make you see reason.
The only thing I see clearly now is who you really are. You're not the man I married.
Please, Elena. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can...
No, we're done, Stefano. After today, we're done.
I walked past him toward the main bedroom, my heart pounding.
Pack a bag and leave.
But he didn't leave. He waited until I was in bed, then he got into the opposite side of our king-size bed. I didn't sleep much that night, listening to my children's peaceful breathing and thinking about what came next. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the bedroom curtains, I made a decision. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could control what happened next. I would document everything. I would seek legal advice. I would build a case not just for my own protection, but for my children's future. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning, but for the first time in months I felt like I had weapons to fight with. The truth, documentation, and most importantly, the unshakable knowledge that I was fighting for something worth protecting. Stefano had tried to use the system to break me. Instead, he had taught me how to use it to protect myself. The psychiatric evaluation he had orchestrated would become evidence of his manipulation. The trauma he had inflicted on our children would demonstrate his unfitness as a parent. As I watched the sun rise over our small apartment, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Not naive optimism, but hard-won hope built on the foundation of my own resilience. That morning, as I sat in my car after dropping off the children, I made a list on my phone, not of my fears or problems, but of my strengths, my education, my languages, my work experience, my determination, my love for my children. For too long, I had allowed Stefano's narrative about my inadequacies to define how I saw myself. But that narrative was a lie, constructed to serve his need for control. He was still snoring when I got up, and I warned the children not to wake him, claiming he'd taken sleep medication. The lie came easily now, another small shield I'd learned to craft. After taking the children to school, I drove to work with a heavy heart but a clear mind. At my desk, I opened my laptop with trembling fingers and began researching divorce lawyers who specialized in international custody cases. Each click felt like an act of rebellion, each saved web page a step toward freedom. I documented every threat Stefano had made, every incident of psychological abuse, every calculated attempt to isolate me from friends, family, and support systems. The evidence was damning. A paper trail of manipulation that had been invisible to me when I was living inside it. If Stefano wanted a war, he would get one. But this time, I would be fighting from a position of strength rather than weakness. This time, I had ammunition of my own. The drive home that terrible day had been the end of one chapter of my life. But as I sat there in my car, making plans and building hope, I realized it was also the beginning of another. A chapter where I was the author of my own story, where my children's mother was strong rather than victim, where the truth mattered more than convenient lies. That brings us to the end of episode 3, The Aftermath. In our next episode, I'll share what happened when Dr. Bettini came to my door the next morning with revelations that would change everything about how I understood what had really happened in that conference room. But for now, I want you to know this. If you're listening to this and you're in a situation where someone is trying to control you, manipulate you, or use systems against you, the moment you realize what's happening is the moment your real power begins. You are not alone, you are not crazy, and you are stronger than you know. Don't forget to like, comment, share your own stories if you feel safe doing so, and above all, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of this journey. Until next time, keep taking those steps. Freedom is closer than you think.